You're watching the Michigan Football Report. I am your host, as always, James Yoder, taking your questions on Michigan football, ranked number 3 in the college football playoff top 25 that was revealed on Tuesday night. Really appreciate everyone who supports the show, tunes into our live shows. If you want your show, your question live on our shows when we go live every Tuesday during college football playoff ranking season between now and the first week of December. December will be on Sunday. Use hashtag Michigan, or we're getting a bunch of super chats that came in on the Tuesday live show. You can super chat. Always get your questions in on the air. First question coming in from Drunken Ryan Day. He says, who is more likely to be in the same job in 5 years, Harbaugh or Day? Jim Harbaugh, Ryan Day. Pretty interesting. So Jack tossed that one up to me. I typed him this message as we were taking questions. So create a quick graphic. Deep thoughts from James Yoder. Okay. So when Michigan beats Ohio State on November 26, 18 days from now, will Ryan Day be on the hot seat with Ohio State fans, Ohio State alumni, Ohio State boosters, whoever, if you will, because he's up against some things that are interesting, right? Michigan hadn't beat Ohio State in 8 straight games, 9 seasons, 2011, and then the 9 seasons afterwards until 2021. But he didn't get the win at home in 2020, even though the game wasn't played, it was canceled, all that stuff. So if he loses on November 26th, that's 3 straight years from a program that he is leading without a win against Michigan. Now, they're still one of the top 3, 4, 5 programs in all of college football, regardless of beating Michigan or not. So I don't necessarily think he's going to get fired. His seat might warm up a little bit. And think about 2023. J.J. McCarthy coming back. Donovan Edwards, Junior Colson. Michigan's going to have a hell of a team, despite what people think that Michigan might fall off next year. Michigan will be favored next year, right? Ohio State will be breaking in a new quarterback, all this different stuff. The game will be at Michigan Stadium. Could definitely heat up in 2023. But I did have this one kind of thought a couple days ago. I do think that the Ryan Day offense does not fit well with the weather in Ohio. Fits there for 8 or 9, 10 games. Cold weather doesn't always make great for pass-happy offenses. Do you think at some point Ryan Day, if he goes 5th year, 6th year to Ohio State here in a couple of years, then he might be thinking, well, I can't beat Michigan, right? I'm not beating Michigan like Urban Meyer and Jim Tressel did. Might he go for a job like a Florida State or, hell, in Alabama if Nick Saban were to retire, where he knows he's going to get warm weather and a guy like Coleridge Stroud doesn't wilt the first time the temperature drops below 40 degrees? It's something to consider. I'm not speculating that he will, but I do think it's not crazy to think about. Oklahoma's coach went to USC, right? Notre Dame's coach went to LSU. Could Ohio State's coach go to Alabama if the job came available? Something to ponder. Those are Yoder's deep thoughts. Subscribe to the channel for more insightful thoughts into my brain. Mamba24 says, excited about this team. Only thing that worries me is our defensive backs giving up big plays, more consistent in the pass game. Play calling has been bad at times. I think you hit a lot of things spot on. I've got some. Jack, do we have that list 3 that we can go over during the preview? The 3 things I need to see out of this team coming up this weekend about the JJ and the running game and all that stuff. Maybe we could toss up on screen if we have it. There it is. All right. Talking about that question coming in from Mamba24. Here are Michigan's needs. I think this is the needs coming up this week, next week, against Ohio State, the Big Ten championship game, and the college football playoff. This is what this team is missing right now from being a championships level team. And really, in a lot of ways, I think missing from last year. Okay? Wide receivers need to step up. It's not just J.J. McCarthy missing passes. Ronnie Bell dropped a pass. Luke Schoonmaker dropped a pass. Cornelius Johnson's been dropping passes or running bad routes all year. This wide receiver group has no leader. Ronnie Bell is a heck of a player, but he's not a number 1 wide receiver for any top 5 team. I don't necessarily think. He's not a Braylon Edwards. He's not a Jason Avant. He's not a Mario Manningham. Or anyone like that. Wide receivers need to step up. This Michigan wide receiver group is starting to see true freshmen get playing time because the older guys aren't getting it done. The offensive line, they need to man up. 9 handoffs from inside the 3-yard line to score 2 touchdowns last week in the first 2 drives. That's not the offensive line that pushed Ohio State around, that absolutely dominated Iowa, that dominated a bunch of teams last year, that had Hassan Haskins have 20 touchdowns. Our offensive line needs to man up. They've got injuries. Trente Jones is hurt. Ryan Hayes missed a game. Trevor Keegan left the game with an injury. So we understand that, right? But whoever's in the game, the position is the position, the standard is the standard, and the standard that Sharon Moore has put on this last 2 seasons for the offensive line is to be absolute badass, road graders, maulers, and the offensive line has not necessarily done that in every game. Penn State game, yes. I don't know why we saw that last week, especially inside the 5. J.J. McCarthy, lastly, needs to get more confident. I don't think that J.J. McCarthy is confident in himself when he throws the ball more than 15 or 20 yards downfield. He hasn't hit one of those passes in a while or really with any consistency. So those are my Michigan needs. Talking about the question that we just saw on the field, on the screen, if we get these 3 things, I think Michigan will be in the position to potentially win a national championship. Go ahead and predict the score. Michigan, Nebraska. While we're filming this live, I'll give a few shout-outs to people who are commenting their score predictions. I've been saying 42-10 last few days. I think I tossed a couple questions. Tuck bailout coming from Michigan man Jason. I feel you there. Hard for the O-line to perform in the goal line when the opponent literally knows what you're running. Definitely a good point by Eastside Zach. He says, if you know you're just going to run the ball up the gut to Blake Corum, it's pretty tough for the offensive line to, 6 offensive linemen, 5 offensive linemen, and a tight end, whatever it is, to take on 8 or 9 guys. They know the ball is going right between the guards and the center. I totally agree with there. The offensive play calling has been wildly disappointing this entire season when Michigan's passing the ball or when they're inside the red zone. 38-7 from Cool Moti. Account 22 says 52-10. Eric says number 3, the J.J. McCarthy needs to be more confident. So true. 42-10 from Chrissy Bruton. 56-17 from Michigan man Jason. Eastside Zach 33-13. 43-4-13 from Carl. Mike Hausa 51-7 and Dennis Carroll 52-0. Chrissy, I thought I said Chrissy, 42-21. Maybe she just put it on there twice. Chris Moore, 52-6. Chat Sports and the Michigan Football Report have partnered with BetUS. If you think Michigan will win by more than 29.5 points, head over to BetUS. Make the game a little more interesting, right? Win yourself some cash money and do it with the best deposit bonus in the game. 125% deposit bonus at chatsports.com/bet. Jax, if you can, see if you can go up there and toss that link in the live chat for us. Maybe I will as well. Chatsports.com/bet. I got it covered. I know where it's at here. Chatsports.com/bet gets you 100. I'm sorry, chatsports.com/go blue gets you 125% deposit bonus. And then we're bringing it back for one more week. Michigan's in the top 3. I thought I'd bring it back for one more week. They let me do it. Jersey deal. Go to chatsports.com/go blue. Sign up and deposit $100. Use that promo code go blue. Make your first bet. The deal expires Sunday night after the NFL game, so you've got 5 days to do it. And then email us, jersey@chatsports.com. So I'm putting the link in the live chat here. And what you've got to do, sign up and deposit with BetUS. Make your first bet. You will get a Michigan football jersey, the Jordan brand jersey. We've sent out a ton of them to you guys. We've run this intermittently throughout the season. Once you get going, email us there, jersey@chatsports.com, and we will ship from us to you. We've got a stack of them behind my desk now. Michigan football Jordan brand jerseys in all sizes. Chatsports.com/go blue. Promo code go blue. Use the promo code, use the link, or it creates a customer service hassle. And then email us with your account number. We'll get your size. We'll get you whatever address you want us to send to, and we will get that bad boy sent off to you. Chatsports.com/go blue. BetUS. Get going. Make a bet. Get a free Michigan football jersey. Cool Moti says, when is the live Michigan watch party coming? Go blue, Bosa, Yoder, greater than Scam Webb. Appreciate all that stuff. The guys in the office have been trying to tell me to do a watch party, right? Because we do, 10 watch parties a week here at Chat Sports on NFL games. And our studio setup doesn't allow for my normal behavior habits, which we could change, of course. But I am very emotional, right? I am the kind of guy who will pace back and forth, will run up to the TV, will point at things, will scream. Well, I don't know if I can do it. I don't think you guys would enjoy it because I would pay no attention to the live chat. Our guys that do it for Raiders and Cowboys and Bears and all these teams, they do a really good job. But maybe if Michigan's up by 10 points or more in the second half against Ohio State, we'll go live. How about that, Jack? We'll go live in the second half against Ohio State, and you will just see me going nuts. So thanks for the $10 super chat, Cool Moti. Does that we have to do a spin or anything, Jack? What's $10? Or is that 5 twice? Okay. Well, Cool Moti, we're going to do a couple wheel spins for you here in a moment. We'll take a few more questions. Jake comes up. He says, will Cade transfer? Yes. I don't think that is a bad thing by any means from Cade McNamara. I don't think it means he loves Michigan any less or is any less dedicated to his teammates. The injury is still lingering, so there's some talk that maybe he won't play because he's still not 100% quite this year, but he's got 2 years of eligibility left. Now, there is a kind of a funny potential here. is he's 2 years older than J.J. McCarthy, but they still have the same eligibility because Cade redshirted and then got the COVID 2020 no eligibility year. So there's a crazy theory that Cade could stay for one more year. J.J.'s the quarterback in 23. He leaves to the NFL. Cade comes back as the quarterback in 24, but I doubt that happens. I would guess that he's going to pick a Pac-12 school or a Big 12 school that has a ready-made team that goes 8-4, 9-3 or better this year, and is a quarterback away from potentially competing for a conference title. So keep an eye out for that. I'm sure within days after the Big Ten championship game, when Michigan wins their second back-to-back Big Ten championship, that Cade McNamara will make some sort of announcement on where he goes, and whether or not he sticks around for the bowl games for Michigan College Football Playoff, I think is uncertain. But I think it's 99% at this point that Cade McNamara transfers after this season. Go ahead and follow me on Twitter. Team follow back. It's at James Yoder. Follow me on Twitter, and I will follow back the next 5 people who follow me from this show here. So it's at James Yoder on Twitter. Do we have the link anywhere? I was going to toss it in the live chat. I don't think I had it ready for this. But at James Yoder on Twitter, next 5 people who follow me either on the live show or afterwards when we put this up onto the channel later on in the week, I will follow. If you're watching live, you've got the best chance of getting a follow back right now if I don't follow you already. So go ahead and follow me at James Yoder on Twitter. I'm going to follow back the next 5 people. Jesse coming in saying, do you think that we will finish strong in recruiting like we did last year, doing just as good or better this year? So I think what he's trying to say there is, look, Michigan is having a good year this year. Michigan had a good year last year. They finished strong last year, had a bunch of guys coming on signing day, right? This Michigan football recruiting class right now is among the worst we've seen, right? You've got to go back to like the last year of Rich Rod and last year of Brady Hoke, right? At 2010 and 2011 class, 2014 to 15 class. When you fire a coach to have a class that's not ranked inside the top 20, 22, 23, 24. So Nicholas Harbaugh, that's the big dog out there for Michigan. Top 15 player overall. Could play defensive end, could play tight end, could play wide receiver. I think Michigan actually gets him. And if they do, I think that kind of turns the tide a little bit. Michigan seems to have fallen behind on just being blatant about NIL, blatant about what guys are going to get when they come into Michigan. But I think that's changing. Michigan new president Santa Ono has met with Juwan Howard, met with Jim Harbaugh within the last week to talk about what Michigan can do to be more competitive in NIL. So I don't think it changes a lot with this class. I bet Michigan is a strong finish. They get 4, 5, 6 more guys, end up 17, 18, 19 in the country. But that momentum and this season, these last 2 seasons, will put them in a really good position, especially if Jaden Davis, who I expect to commit within the next 45 days or earlier, when you get a 5-star quarterback, I think that class ends up being top 5 or 6 in 2024. Go ahead and like this video. Don't jinx it. If you want to beat Ohio State again, it's been working for 2 years. Coming off a 2-4 season, we implemented the slogan "Beat Ohio State again." Bosa, and then last year we put this little tactic. I'm a superstitious guy. Sometimes if I'm sitting in a seat a certain way, I've got a leg crossed, whatever it is, Michigan scores a touchdown, I just leave my leg there the rest of the game. This has been working. It's only failed us one time in the Michigan State game last year. You know who you are. Like the video, and don't jinx it, because if you don't like it, you're going to ruin this entire season. Michigan, they probably won't beat Ohio State. Okay, Tony DC11 coming in. Donovan Edwards becomes a wide receiver next year. Do you think we have enough talent at running back for him to have a dominant running game? No, which is kind of the conundrum that Michigan is in. I believe from watching Donovan Edwards last year, watching him this year, watching Michigan's other wide receivers, that he's probably Michigan's best wide receiver, right? Who's made an athletic catch like he did in his touchdown catch on Saturday against Rutgers? He's fast. He runs great routes. He can catch the ball. He's had multiple contested catches down the sideline against Hawaii. He had that great catch. I think Michigan will be very well positioned to put him out wide as a wide receiver, starting wide receiver, for the rest of the season. But his role with this program needs to be at running back next year. Assuming Blake Corum goes pro like we all expect him to, you don't have enough depth in the backfield, right? Really, the 2021, you had Hassan, you had Blake Corum, you had Donovan Edwards. Now you got Blake and Donovan. There's not that next guy who's proven himself yet. You've got a recruit or two next year they're coming in, but they won't be ready for Donovan Edwards to move positions. But if he showed out this year, maybe you just have to put him at wide receiver next year. If you put him there for the next 3 or 4 games, Michigan would have to look heavily in the transfer portal to get a guy that can make an impact enough, big enough to allow Donovan Edwards to not be a one running back, but also go and be a wide receiver. Steve says, what are the chances both Michigan and Ohio State get in the CFP if the game is close? Well, the numbers say right now the chances are 54%, right, as of yesterday. Right? ESPN's FPI, which I don't know how smart the people at ESPN are on analytics and all that different stuff. They say it's 54%. 86 or so percent Ohio State makes it, and like 68% Michigan makes it. Combined, those numbers come down to 54%, 3.9%. I think if you're a Michigan fan or Ohio State fan, and you lose that game, you hope it's a close game. You hope the team looked great. It was a great game. And other teams lose. You want TCU to lose to Texas this week. You're rooting for USC and Oregon and UCLA to kind of all take each other out. And you're rooting for quite a few other losses. Jack, do we have those schedules? Can we toss those up really quick if we have the opportunity just to look at them really quickly? What are the chances both Michigan and Ohio State make the CFP? Now, some of these teams can lose in their conference title game. Let's look at Ohio State, but the Pac-12 teams, TCU, I think will be helpful. Ohio State's schedule here, Indiana, Maryland, Michigan. They're not losing before Michigan. So, that's not really what we're talking about here anyways. How about TCU? All these games are losable, and then they probably have to play Texas or whoever else, TCU, or they probably have to play Kansas State or Texas or something like that again in the Big 12 title game. There's no divisions in the Big 12. So I think TCU having a loss here, I would say, is much higher than 50%. If they do, I think that eliminates them even if they win a conference title. Michigan, Ohio State loser gets in over them. How about Oregon? Washington? Utah? Maybe. The Pac-12 is not doing divisions again, or not doing divisions this year either, so they're going to have to face a USC, UCLA, or maybe a Utah potentially. I do think Oregon probably loses one more game. Okay, USC. UCLA, Notre Dame. Okay. I see a lot of losses in there. I don't know. I think all those teams outside of Ohio State before Michigan could slip up and lose a game, and if so, good chance. But what's really going to come down to, I think, is Michigan, Ohio State loser versus Tennessee or the Pac-12 champion, right? Whoever that is, if they have one loss, and what means more, a conference title game or a more dominant season throughout the year and a one loss if it's your last game of the year. How about this question here? Better Michigan football defense last year or this year? I don't know, Jim. Which one is the better defense? The stats right now, despite what you might think, say it's the 2022 Michigan football defense is better. There's no star power. Jim Harbaugh has called it the no-star defense. There's no David Ojabo, although Mike Morris has played well. There's no Aiden Hutchinson. There's no Dax Hill, although Rod Moore's playing well. Makari Page's having a nice season. So we'll see what happens the rest of the year. I think it's going to come down to, right, do they have the ability to keep Ohio State in check, right? CJ Stroud threw for 360 yards, whatever it was last year. But every one of those yards was tough. Michigan had the perfect defensive solution for him. Let me know down in the comments, 2021 or 2022. Josiah says, I feel like play action to our tight ends could help our red zone issues. Do you think they're saving this for OSU? Maybe, right? I'm so confused with the offense we're seeing this year because when J.J. McCarthy rolled out there against Hawaii and then against UConn and he's passing the ball and he's hitting guys deep, I'm like, okay, this is going to be a more pass-happy offense than we've seen. Obviously, that's why they made the move to JJ. They're going to run more. They're going to do this. They're going to do that. And then Big Ten season happened, and there's been spurts of it, but it hasn't been much of a different offense. And I don't want to say they've turned J.J. McCarthy into Caden McNamara Jr., but outside of the running, is the passing game any different? No, it's not. There's the factual answer. And last year, Michigan was hitting, I think they used the tight end a little bit better at times, but they were also doing different plays last year that I thought were exciting. They used the flea flicker a ton last year. They used the jet sweep to A.J. Henning a lot more last year. They used the read option sometimes more last year, although J.J. McCarthy's used it from here or there, and it was really good against Penn State when they used it. But I thought they would show a little more against Penn State, against Rutgers through the air in the passing game. It didn't happen. They went run heavy. That's fine. So I think this offense is what it is. I don't think Michigan's going to save anything drastic they haven't done. Now, you may see a flea flicker or two like you did last year during the Ohio State game. You may see that A.J. Henning reverse to score a touchdown like you saw in 2021, you saw in 2019 with Giles Jackson. But to think that they're going to come out with some drastically different offense or just go play action heavy or anything like that, I don't think it's going to happen because I just don't think watching Jim Harbaugh coach this team for 8 years and watching him at Stanford for 4 and 49ers for 4. I watched a ton of Jim Harbaugh. I've watched every game he's coached pretty much for the last decade. And He doesn't do that. He doesn't roll out this new grand offense for just one single game. He focuses on what's working, and he makes it work even more. We're up to 22,821 subscribers, so if you have yet to subscribe to the channel, it is the Michigan Football Report by Chat Sports, live on YouTube on Tuesdays for the College Football Playoff Rankings reveal. Michigan is number 3 in the polls, in the top 25 rankings. Go ahead and subscribe. Hit that subscribe button right below this video, or if you forget about it, need to come back later, send it to a friend as well. YouTube.com/MichiganTV. We are at 22,821. We got to get to 23,000 by game time. 3:30 kickoff against Nebraska on Saturday. Michigan Football Report. Subscribe now on YouTube, youtube.com/MichiganTV.